Oh yes. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so timelines. So now that you've decided, let's say that you've explored a lot and you are sure about the kind of jobs you're looking for, or at least have a ballpark idea. So next thing to look at is timelines. You should not be missing important timelines for the recruitment season. So like I said before, if you wish to intern in the summer, begin like around August. I think August is when a lot of companies post their internships for their summer. So, start looking at the company websites or, Handshake around August. And that's when you should really begin applying. And if you're looking for fall internships or fall co-ops, I'm still in that process, but from what I found out, I think it's best to start sometime in March. Not too many roles are out there, so I think March would be a good time. And spring internships and co-ops as well. There are not too many. There are just a few companies that do have these co-ops, which might be worthwhile. So those recruitment kind of begin towards the later side of the year, which would be around November to December. So these are timelines, and you should just make sure that you don't miss out on anything. For example, I do know a lot of people who were not aware of this, and they want a summer internship and they began in February 2021. So that puts you at kind of disadvantage, because a lot of great companies, they finish hiring by that point, and they might not have room until someone leaves the program. So it's a risky thing to start in Feb. And as I said, you'll definitely have more offers, you'll have more time, and you'll have more practice, and you'll be good at interviewing by that time. Okay, so yeah.
Do you know if there are any options available for winter internships?
Winter internships, yeah, definitely. I've done a lot of scavenging, and I have made a list of a few companies that do have winter internships. But I have to tell you that if you're an international student, it's going to be a little hard to get that, because we have work restrictions and might not be able to do the semester as well as a winter internship together. So there are some, but if you are able to do that, there are some companies, and I would say again, applying in fall would be ideal for such winter internships. And the best resource to find these internships for the winter would be LinkedIn and Handshake. I know everyone probably tells you to look at LinkedIn and Handshake, but that's where it's at. And there's no other website you need. There's nothing else you need. The more time you spend on LinkedIn, it's going to cater to your skills and interests, and it's going to show you jobs that you're good at already. So it's got a filtered list of available jobs. So definitely for winter internships, keep a lookout, start searching on LinkedIn for posts. Some of the posts are also tagged with winter internship. So if you go on LinkedIn and just type winter internship and search with posts, you're going to see some people posting for winter internships. And, that's a good way to find out if there are companies and which companies are those. So, yeah.
Thanks. Actually, this year, a lot of people started in the spring semester, and which is why they wouldn't be able to intern in their first summer, but winter is the time where they might actually become eligible.
That's correct. I actually did explore that, as, I think a lot of people were considering deferring their degree to the spring semester as compared to last year fall. There are some disadvantages with that, but, nothing to worry about, because right now, I think the economy is booming and there are a lot of new jobs being added, a lot of new IPOs coming out, and a lot of startups which have all, come out. So there are a lot of jobs which are coming out. So I wouldn't be too worried, but it definitely, compared to the summer, winter internship is going to be slightly lesser than summer. But yeah, never, you can always, start searching right away. Early bird always gets it. So you have to be early with your process. I can't stress that point enough, you guys. Like, you have to be early. If I wasn't early, I'm not sure that I could have, gotten the offers that I did. So I stand by that. Okay. So yeah, I'll get to the, now working on your resume. So once you've figured out your companies, you've shortlisted some careers, you've shortlisted some jobs, internships that you're interested in, the next thing to do is work on your resume. And when I say this, for every application, you're not going to submit the same resume. I mean, you can, but I would recommend not to. because your resume needs to be tailored for each job that you apply to. So it's not going to be a piece of cake where you're applying just continuously to like 500 companies with the same resume. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you noticed. So one way to really get you noticed is to tailor your resume according to the job description for each job that you're applying to. And from what I know from the recruitment process, there are certain keywords which the recruiters basically, they have an AI algorithm, they run all the resumes through it, and it picks up on the resumes that include certain keywords. And how do we find these keywords? You basically look at the job description. There are like Easter eggs everywhere. So you have to pick out these keywords and incorporate it into your experience, into the skills you have. And that is one way to make sure that your resume is meeting the requirements. And another thing is, a lot of people use some terms which don't really work on the resume. For example, you can say, I helped a professor do this, I helped the professor do that. This is again for undergrads or grads. Even if you don't have too much to write about, then if you mention something like helped, it would be better if those keywords were changed to created, or if you assisted, then that's developed. So it's the same thing, but it's a little more enticing. It makes you want to click on the resume because someone's created something and someone's developed. And this is all like, it's all about keywords that you use. And one very important thing about resumes is when you're listing your experiences or any volunteer work or anything that you have on your resume, you have to quantify the impact that you had in that position. So for example, I have an example right here. The job is of a gold digger. I got this example on the internet, so sorry about this one. So the job is of a gold digger. The company is a mall fountain, and the job description is basically collaboration, money, and fountains. Now, how would you write that? You have to quantify these terms in your. How would you make yourself appealing using quantity? So that's how you do it. You would write collaborated with 5+ gold diggers to scavenge around 5 mall fountains, accumulating to a compensation of $1,000, which was spent on 3 meals a day. So, when you include dollars, it's automatically very enticing to the companies. So anything that has a economic impact, it's a great point. And make sure and no matter what the experience was, for example, I worked on a project that didn't really, it wasn't completely developed. So it was just in the middle stage. And by the time I was done with it, it was still in the middle stage. So we didn't really put it into production. So how I wrote about that in my resume was that, I worked on a project that reduced the work hour of an engineer by 20 minutes is spent on this task. So when you write things like that, that has a greater impact. You have contributed to an economic impact to that company or the position that you were in. So definitely quantifying these different traits on your resume is extremely important. And lastly, once you're done, you feel happy with your resume, you have to get the resume reviewed. You would be under the impression that I've done a great job with my resume, I'm pretty happy with it, but the reality of things is quite different. For example, the font matters, the number of pages of your resume matter, and how you space the words or how you write the timelines, all of that really matters because it basically goes through an AI filtering system. So we want to make sure that your resume can be filtered out easily, and they get the key values, key points that they're trying to get from that. So one great resource to get your resume reviewed would be the Wasserman Career Center. They do have appointments with career counselors, and you can it's a very easy process. You just go on their website and you book an appointment with guidance counselor, and they will basically go over your resume with you and give you great pointers. And it's a good discussion, and they've been doing this for a long time. So they are definitely really good at it, and they will be able to guide you in a really good way if you're not too sure or not too happy with your resume. So once you're done with your part, make sure you get it reviewed either by your parent or professor, or as NYU provides the Wasserman Careers, and I would suggest that. So yeah, that would be working on your resume. Do you guys have any questions for this part? No? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, so now we have reached a stage where we have completed our resume. We've got it reviewed. We're pretty happy. We're ready to start applying. So now how are we going to go about this? There are a million companies out there, and the best part of US is that there are 500 Fortune 500 companies itself. There are 500 companies there itself. So there are 500 great companies for you to be interning or working at. So you have a lot of options. So you need to be applying regularly in order to be considered somewhere, because I'm not going to lie, the competition is fierce out there. You're going to be competing with a lot of people who may have more experience, or they have the required skill sets and they're building on it. It's a competitive world, like I said before. So you have to start early and you have to be applying very regularly. So drawing from my own personal experience, when I started out in August, I was maybe applying to, I think I completed 2 applications a week. And then, I would just go through that and try to see, I would do 2 applications next week and then slowly increase that frequency as the summer kind of came closer. So I think at one point in November, I was making about 10 applications a day. So, it's an exponential growth. You start with 2 applications a week and you're about 10 applications a day and you're just applying. And it is a very exhausting process where you have to fill in all these details and create accounts and give these automated interviews, just the pre-screening stuff. It's an extremely exhausting process, which is why applying early again is key. And so you have to start applying, keep an open mind. Don't be disheartened by the first rejection you get. I've gotten like 120 or 150 rejections even. And it's funny because I'm still getting rejections and, it's never going to stop coming. So don't get disheartened by, rejections. That's just a part of life. And all you need is basically one acceptance. So that's all you basically need. So, keep working at it and keep applying. And, there comes a time when someone feels like, I've been applying for about 2 months, gotten nowhere. That's when you have to take a step back and kind of reevaluate why you are not getting any callbacks or any recruiter reaching back out to you. So, I would suggest, don't worry about it until like November. But after that, if you're not getting selection calls or something, then, you would have to change something, maybe in your process or maybe in the aggressiveness that you take to apply. You have to change something. And so by November, definitely you'll be applying a lot. And from what I have found out, I don't mean to kind of demotivate you guys, but I have noticed that if you apply to a tech company and they don't reply back to you within 2 weeks, I would probably just move on. They do a pretty good job at selecting pretty fast. Maybe some companies don't, but I think the top companies, if you're aiming for FANG, definitely, 2 weeks time is a turnaround time for them, which I know. So if at all you don't get a email back in 2 weeks, don't keep your heart set on that job, move on and just wait for anything to come your way. So 2 weeks is a good time frame to keep, because I remember I would get so excited when I saw a job and I'd just be like, okay, this is something I need. And then I'd just be waiting, and it would never come. So just to save you from that disappointment, just 2 weeks, give yourself 2 weeks. Okay. So now what do you do after you've applied? Now, let's say you've been applying 2 to 3 applications a week or 5 a day. You're at a good pace. You've sent out a lot of good applications. Now you're just waiting, but you can't just wait. This is the most crucial period. The 2 weeks that I spoke about, that is your time to actually do something about it. There are many ways to actually make a difference to your application. And the first one is network. I cannot stress this enough, but networking is the way that a lot of people are getting jobs these days. I know it's not exactly fair, but we're not at a point to do anything about that. So we have to go along with the system, and the system says you have to know someone or, try to beat the system, game the system in some way to get your application noticed. So, there are a lot of ways to network. One is alumni. Reach out to your NYU alumni. I have done that a lot of times, and I am happy to tell you that NYU alumni are very forthcoming. They're extremely easy to talk to, and they're very willing to help you out. So if you see someone on LinkedIn from NYU, don't be afraid to reach out to them. They are extremely friendly, and so LinkedIn is basically the way to go. So I'm going to show you one example with LinkedIn, that I've just got set up over here. So I'm just going to go to that. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah. It only shows the PowerPoint right now.
Oh, it's just the PowerPoint? Okay,
Yeah.
Let me just stop sharing and then share again. Okay. So this is an example for how to basically use a LinkedIn to your advantage. So let's say that this is a company that I've been looking at, and I see that this is an internship I'm interested in. I look at the job description, I meet all the requirements, and I also meet other requirements, like some companies have a preferred qualifications. So if you meet that, then you should know you are a good candidate for this role. So so I look at this, and then I go ahead and I apply using my beautiful resume that I reviewed, and then I just put it out there. So now I have 2 weeks to make a difference to this application. And how would I do that? I would just go on LinkedIn, and the first thing I would just do is Waymo plus intern, and then do a see results. And when you do that, you get a bunch of people who are working at Waymo, and also you get something called posts. Now, what I usually do is I hit the posts first, and you will come across some people. For example, if you see Alex Helm, Waymo is hiring for a few more summer and fall intern spots for 2021. So I'm going to keep, most of the posts that come out by university relations or recruiters, they might not give you much advantage because they are just advertising out there. They don't really have a lot of pull. The people who have the pull are the hiring managers for that particular spot, or someone from their team who's hiring. For example, I need to find a person who is in the systems engineering fault protection team. And if they are able to push my resume up, that's a direct interview call to me. So I'm going to continue searching, and eventually I'll come across a post like this. My Waymo team is hiring a 2021 systems engineering fault protection. Come join the team. And if you see, there is 0 comments on this. There is just 1 like and 1 reaction, no comments. So now if I reach out to this person, send him a personalized invite, or even just comment on this, sometimes when you comment on posts, the person posting it is obligated to sort of check you out, and they do check you out. If you comment, it's a desperate move, but it gets you jobs. So sometimes I comment on these posts and I'm like, hey, I have messaged you. And then they check their messages and they'll see you, and then they'll actually respond to you. And this is the best way to actually get the hiring team to notice you. Otherwise, they're just going through a million applications for their position. And, while your chances are good if you meet the qualifications, it's not the best. A lot of people do this. So, he might know people who he's just going to pull in. So a lot of that stuff happens. So in order to just get a fair chance at it, you can just contact this guy directly. So that is one of the tactics that you can use on LinkedIn. And let's say that, okay, you found 0 posts and there barely anything about this particular internship. You can also contact a person who has, if you see this person in the past has been a perception research and development intern at Waymo. Now, let's say that was the intern position I was interested at. I would connect to him and say, hey, I'm interested in this position. I would love to connect with you to chat further. A lot of people, I would like to say that a lot of people on LinkedIn are extremely forthcoming, and if they are on it, they are going to offer you some advice, or they're going to help you out in some way, or they'll put you in touch with someone who can definitely help you. Now, that is a very good resource to have. Like, you can find out, if you're interested in a data analyst position, then look for data analysts at Amazon, and then, try to get some more information from them. Like, is your team hiring, or do you know someone's team who's hiring for a data analyst? Or give them a job ID and say, hey, would you happen to know which team's hiring? So, a lot of tricks you can use on LinkedIn. And what I would say is start early. is, begin drafting your profile on LinkedIn so that when someone views your profile, you need to have those keywords out there. You need to, you need to have all your points updated. And one of the biggest things to have on your LinkedIn is your graduation date. So when do you expect to graduate? That is an important factor. And also on your resume. So make sure, for example, if you're graduating in May 2022, make sure you write it on your resume, expected graduation date, May 2022. That is a very important thing. And I think if recruiters see that, they're going to pick you out because not many people do that. So, there are a lot of these tiny things, and that's how recruiters basically make their decision. And you have to find ways to stand out in some way. So, so use LinkedIn to your advantage. Let me go back to this. So you basically, and one thing I would like to stress here is never send out an empty connection request on LinkedIn. It's completely useless. Don't even bother with it. No one's going to see. I myself get like 200 connection requests a day, but I wouldn't read it unless someone has added a personalized note. Always add a note, so that because it looks different on the website. They see so many people have sent connection requests, but only one has added a personalized note. So definitely add a personalized note. And what that's going to be like is using myself as an example. Hey, I'm a master's student at NYU, majoring in information systems. In the past, I've worked with Cisco as a technical consulting manager. I'm very intrigued with the work you do as a data analyst at Amazon, and I would love to connect. Keep it short, keep it crisp, and don't give away too much of your intention behind connecting. So keep it short and try to get that conversation flowing. Try to ask them questions about, don't jump right in and say, are you hiring? They're not going to fall for that. You have to build that relationship, and those relationships will pay off at some point in time. So definitely don't focus on getting connection requests out there, but focus on making prolonged connections by actually creating one by conversing with them. So one tip is never send out empty connection requests. And that is, I have a lot of these LinkedIn tips and tricks, and I would love to go on about it. But, that would take us a very long time. And I'm sure none of you really want to stick around for a long time listening to me talk about LinkedIn. But, I am available on LinkedIn. So in case you do want to reach out and want to know about some more tips and tricks, I would be happy to share that with you on LinkedIn. And I can put my, link down there later. Okay, so now let's say everything's going well for you and you have landed your first interview. Now, your first interview, most likely, there's a very good chance that it's not going to go as well as you think it would, but that's okay, because you have to use every interview as a method of bettering yourself and making yourself better at a particular skill. So don't be disheartened if your interview went bad, but definitely reflect on why it went bad. What was the issue? Like, where did you go wrong, and fix that right then and there. Like, let's say you had an interview an hour ago and you're just in a terrible mood, and don't walk away. Don't try to not think about it. Think about it for a good amount of time. Think about what you said, what went wrong, what could have been better, and do that research fresh off the boat. Like, right when your interview is over, do an analysis and see what went wrong and make notes of it, so that the next time you never repeat that mistake. You don't get too many chances at interviewing, so make sure you never repeat the same mistake twice. And you will make a lot of mistakes. I've made blunders. Like, I cannot even tell you how badly I've messed up my interviews, but they have given me a learning opportunity. And just see that for what it is, a learning opportunity, and move ahead with your other interviews if you have any. Now, resources for interviews, what kind of resources? So I'm guessing, we're all in tech at NYU, so I'm guessing we're all looking into STEM careers. One important aspect of STEM careers is coding. No matter which area you're going into, having some coding experience is only going to benefit you during the application process. So again, I wish someone told me this before. It would have been really easy for me. Start lead coding. Right now, today, tonight, start lead coding. You don't have to do 100 questions in one day. You don't have to do even 5. Just start. Just do 1. and get the answer right, or see where you went wrong, or just explore if you've never done it. It's basically, if in case anyone someone here is not aware of LeetCode, it's a website where you can practice your coding skills in either Java, Python, or C++. And the companies basically pick out questions from LeetCode. So if you start early, you're going to know how the questions are framed, and you're going to know how you'll basically build on your thought process. And that is the most important thing. And another resource that I found extremely useful was a book, which is called Cracking the Coding Interview. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it. It's a really famous book, and it goes without saying, it is a wonderful book. They kind of dumb things down for you. So, you're going to you'll be able to easily grasp on, the complex concepts like time complexities or space complexities. That is a very hot topic for interviews. So, that book definitely made me understand a lot of topics that I had barely any ideas about in a much better way, and made me better equipped to answer those questions at an interview. And so how much time do you need? You have to start now. So you have to be lead coding every day, or not even every day, just be regular with your practice. Maybe a weekly sit down, and on a weekend do it every Saturday or Sunday. But you have to start, even if it's by starting by creating an account on LinkedIn, on LeetCode. That's all you need to do. Just create an account on LeetCode, explore it whenever you get the chance. There are some amazing modules on LeetCode which introduce you to a lot of interview hot topics like data structures, anything with arrays, linked lists. So it's going to give you a good understanding of that. And that's all you need for your coding rounds. I wouldn't say, I don't think there's anything else that you would require to ace your coding round. But definitely, if you are interested personally just to get good at coding, then definitely keep practicing. Take like some they have a lot of contests. They host contests every week, so you can definitely check that out. Just gonna check my chat. Okay, so we're going good. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to stop me. Anyone wants to know something?
I actually had a question regarding the LinkedIn thing. I know it's a little bit back, but I think one of the problems I'm having, or like, I'm really bad at reaching out to people, honestly. So I was just wondering, like, what's your success rate in terms of like, or like, because I get pretty discouraged when like conversation doesn't really go somewhere. So I'm like, sort of like, what's the success rate with like sort of reaching out to people? Do you find that like people often like the conversation goes well, or yeah? Oh, you can't hear me? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, hello.
I think she can't hear anyone.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's kind of, I think she's lagged out right now.
No, she's just muted, I think. Good question. I could hear. Oh, I see. Oh, no, that was Noah. Sorry. Confused.
Wait, let me contact her.
I could show you guys the book she was talking about till then. I have my some 7 or 8-year-old copy of this.
Oh,
It's the blur screwing up with this.
It looks censored.
Yeah, this is.
I thought it was an actual sensor.
Okay. Okay, I can't.
How often do you work out of the book, Shubham?
I've been pretty lucky in the sense I got my first offer with, and now this during my undergraduate studies, right? I got a very good offer the first time I interviewed for a company. So it was like the first company that came to the campus. In India, the model is slightly different. Companies come to college campuses, and let's say not all companies visit all campuses. They pick and choose colleges that they want to get students from, right? So
Right.
the first company on campus, I bought this book like a couple of weeks before that, and then I got in, and then I didn't use it for a while. Before coming here, I started, referring to this book again when I was interviewing for Google, but then I chose NYU over, job changing plans.
Well, hello again, you guys. I'm sorry, my Zoom kind of crashed on me. And is it okay now? Is the video and audio okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Just Zoom. So yeah, Matt, you were saying that you went back to LinkedIn. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah. So I was basically, so in terms of like the LinkedIn thing, like in terms of like reaching out to people, I find it pretty hard, like sort of getting the guts to reach out to people. I was sort of like wondering like what is sort of like the success rate with like having these conversations, or like do you find yourself like these conversations really usually go places, or like sort of like that kind of
Yeah, of course. So I would say from my experience, those conversations really did help me. I think a few offers that I got were because of these conversations that I had, but not. So the most impactful LinkedIn conversations I've had have been when a hiring manager, basically like the post I just showed you, he's basically hiring for his team. If you reach out to him, there's going to be a bigger impact. Definitely, if you reach out to just a data analyst at Amazon just to see what's up, it's not going to go too well. And I would say it. I mean, you can see that as a waste of time, but there are desperate times when you just feel like I need some more connections, and building these connections also expands your network. So the posts that you see on LinkedIn will be you'll be adding more people to that network. So you'll be adding some Amazon folks to it. So you'll be seeing Amazon content. So connections is never a bad thing, but I get where you're coming from. It's not always beneficial to have useless conversations, but definitely target those people who have put up posts and who say, hey, we're actively hiring, reach out to me for this. So those are the kind of people that have the maximum impact. And I have personally had so much help from those kind of tips, basically, where I find the hiring manager, get in touch with him, and he wants to fill in his role really quick. He just wants to fill in the role. So he is just, if you say you're good at the role, then he's going to check your profile right then and there. If he likes what he sees, he'll send your name to the recruiter, and the next day the recruiter is going to contact you, and she's going to set up some interviews. So definitely reaching out on these posts has more value. And one more thing, if you plan to reach out to people and you see recruiters, honestly, a complete waste of time reaching out to them. Everyone reaches out to them. They get like tons of connection requests. They don't do anything. They have no power. A recruiter is basically only there to facilitate your interviews and basically connect you with employees. But the real person who is actually making the cuts on who makes it and who doesn't is the hiring manager and the team. So forget about connecting with recruiters. You might not benefit a lot, but some connections might give you access to some posts that say, like I showed you a recruiter before who was like, we're hiring for summer interns, we're hiring for this. So they do give you advertisements. So that's the only reason I hit follow on the recruiters rather than connect. So there's no point of connecting with them. But yeah, so if at all you see a recruiter and you think you should send him a message, it's not going to add a lot of value. I hate to say that, but target the hiring managers, definitely.
Okay, yeah, that's really good advice. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up where I left off on the presentation. Maybe that's what caused it to crash, maybe just can't take it. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
I don't think it's showing the PowerPoint right now.
Okay, now do you see once you land an interview, do you see something like that? No,
No.
I don't understand what's happening. Stop sharing. Okay, stop sharing. Okay. All right, so I'm just I don't think there are not too many slides after that, so I'm just gonna there's just 2-3 slides, so I'm just gonna tell you. So now we finally made it to a point in our story of recruitment. We finally made it to the point where we have gotten these interviews. We have resources to prep us for these interviews, these books, Lead Code, and one very important resource that I just realized I didn't touch up on is, let's say you're interested in that systems engineering position at Waymo. The most important thing to do is go to LinkedIn and find the same intern from last year. So let's say 2020 systems engineer. Find that person. There's going to be someone who's very enthusiastic and updates their LinkedIn. And, I was a systems engineer for Waymo in 2020. Target those people. Send them a connection request and say, hey, I've got an interview and I would love some help and I would love to connect with you. And if they're a student, they probably feel, they'll probably be in a better position to help you out, because a lot of students, me as a student, I would help another student out, and that's just how it goes. So if you contact another student and who got the interview last year, you can ask them what the interview was like, and they will give you pointers, and the format remains the same. Trust me, for every position, the format of the interviews remains the same in these big companies, at least. Like I wouldn't say that for the startups because they keep changing, but for FANG, they have a proven record of the kind of questions they ask. So, to get a good advantage, contact these guys who got the interview or got the internship last year, get some info from them. So that has been extremely helpful for me. And I think I would honestly attribute that part of my networking to me landing the jobs. So that was the most important thing. Find the previous year interns and get as much information from them. And even if you're not getting selected for that particular role, find the interns, and they usually do a congratulations post. They'd be like, I'm happy to announce that I'm interning at this place. And then they would thank the recruiter and thank the hiring manager. Make a note of that. Get those hiring managers, because it's going to be the same year after year. And even if they're not the hiring manager, they will probably guide you towards a hiring manager for that role. So, that's a great way. I think it helped me with 2 of my interviews. I got by just looking at other people's posts, contacting the hiring manager or the recruiter, whoever it is they have thanked. And then, just making your way through that. So that is another way of recruiting. So the next slide I would like to, so these are additional tips for interviewing. And that's one. So another one I would like to share is, when you finally get an interview, the main thing that is in your control is only one thing, which is your introduction. At every interview, the interviewer is definitely gonna ask you, okay, hey, this is me, I've done this and this. Would you like to introduce yourself now? And then you have to tell your story. Have a story. This is very important. I can't stress this enough. To make you stand out from the rest of the crowd, have a story. Like, ever since I was a kid, I was always into mathematics and solving problems. And that's why I took up engineering. And, when I took up engineering, I fell in love with this professor who taught amazingly in computer networks. And that's where my computer networks journey really began. I did so-and-so projects under him. And then I was given the offer to join Cisco. It has to come as a narration. You have to practice this many times. You have to practice introducing yourself to your friends, your relatives, or just anyone. You need to get that confidence when you speak about your experience. If you waver, if you kind of are uncertain, the interviewer is going to catch up on that. So your goal is to not give him any reasons to reject you. So make sure you have a nice narrative of your introduction, which, in my opinion, you should practice before going on in any interview. Don't be cocky and don't say you're going to wing it on the spot. People end up completely ruining it. I've done so myself, but practice, and that's going to help you. So now we're at a point where we've completed our interview and we're just waiting for the offers. Again, interviewing is a process where the more interviews you do, the better you're going to get at it. So if you miss out on that first interview and you completely messed it up, don't worry about it, because eventually that's going to contribute towards you getting the job that you're actually going to get. So don't be disheartened. Keep at the process. There are many jobs out there, many companies, many great jobs. So don't be disheartened that you didn't get the one you wanted. You can always reapply. You have a lot of time at NYU, and given the economy right now, I'm pretty sure new things are going to come up every now and then. So don't be disheartened by rejections. That is one of the worst things, because I remember in November, I was very down because I had no interviews lined up and I messed up all of my previous ones. That's when everything changed. Everything just changed overnight. I was getting interview calls and I was more confident, and I was doing back-to-back interviews, and then the offers just followed. So definitely don't give up on the process. It's a very painstaking one, but it's extremely rewarding. And that's all I would like to share about this. And I'd open the stage up for you guys to ask me any questions, or if you have any doubts. I know we're out of time, but you can still ask me questions. Well, I think there are any questions.
I actually had one more question. If no one else has a question. So in terms of like preparing for the interview, like I know you have to like do the coding interview, stuff like that. But and then like you would want to practice your pitch. But what's your take on like I guess the like behavioral questions? Like, do you find yourself practicing a lot for those, or are those sort of like, or like, do you know, or like what set of questions do you practice from, or anything like that? Yeah.
That's a good question. Behavioral questions are a huge part of the interview process. And, one of the interviews will definitely focus on that. What I did for that is, I don't think you can practice too much, because you're never going to be asked the questions that you practice. It's always completely new, but you can rest assured that these are going to be easy questions. It's not going to require a lot of thinking. But one thing that you should remember in these kind of questions is to draw from your own experience, draw from your past. Don't give generic answers. Just say, I do agree with that statement, because, I was at a point in the past where I was faced with a similar situation, and build a story. The more stories you tell, the more the interviewer is likely to forget, even if you got the question wrong, So just have a conversation with them. Make sure you try to build a connection, because that's the differentiating factor between you and 100 other people. You have to connect with the interviewer. So for those behavioral questions, I didn't prepare, but it's also good to just talk out loud sometimes and talk to your peers. I think that helped me a lot. Like I remember a lot of my friends would have such questions. We would ask each other crazy questions, and then we'd sit and talk about it. So that's a good way to practice. But in my experience, I've never gotten the same question twice. It's always been on the spot. And important thing is, take your time, take a deep breath, and then draw from your own personal experience, rather than stating something that's pretty generic. But you'll be fine. I mean, you can't go wrong with behavioral. It's quite easy. Just feel confident in your skills, and the fact that you're at the interview means you are qualified. So know that fact, be confident, and let the confidence kind of reflect in your answers, because that is a huge point that they catch up on. If you're confident, even if you get the question wrong, but show the willingness to learn and show the ability to adapt, then you're going to be good. Like getting a question wrong is not that important, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So I guess no one else has any questions. Okay, then. So that's right on time. I'm so glad it's exactly 8 p.m.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to do this talk. I know we have other mentors in the chat as well, or in the room. So if like you guys want to, if anyone would like to share insight as well, feel free. Feel free to stop me. But yeah, thank you so much again for doing this talk, and thank you to everyone coming on, as you said before, a Wednesday night. But yeah, I guess that concludes this event then. I think we might be planning another event in 2 weeks maybe, or in 1 week. And then I believe the 6 months to the mentorship programs coming up soon. So yeah, that's sort of like our timeline for the future, and hopefully everyone's having a good time and everything. And oh, we might have another social one. I thought the social one we had last time was super fun. I don't know about you guys, but we might have another social.
Yeah, I agree. It was fun.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that as well. But yeah, that probably concludes the event. Thank you so much to Yamini for coming up with this really great presentation. I really love the LinkedIn hacks. But yeah, okay. Good night, everyone.
Thanks for organizing this. This was super fun. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Yeah. Good night, everyone. Catch y'all later.
All right.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.